Hey everybody, I'm Mike Jones. I'm a retired Texas police officer.
G'day everybody, I'm Pete Gillette and I'm a retired New South Wales policeman. Right. Well,
Yeah,
g'day Mike, how you
technology.
going? Great to
Hey
see
Peter,
you.
how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, looking forward to it as I always do, and apologies again to Mrs. Jones for taking you away from her. But
Say she's
I,
probably happy.
I was thinking a few times during the last week about the snow or the sleet you had on your roof. Any
Woo!
any today?
Not, no, not. We have a little bit left in the yard, but it's just
No.
what's in the shade. You know.
Okay,
Uh,
righto.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's supposed to be real cold tomorrow here, though.
Righto.
Yeah, it's supposed to be -4, I think, wind chill. Let me tell you what that is in Celsius. I got my little cheater
Yeah.
deal here, so I can help. So -4, Peter, it's going to be -26 Celsius.
You've got to be kidding.
Yeah,
At
I
your
know, right?
place. At
Yeah,
your place.
yeah,
Thank God
yeah,
for global warming.
yeah, I know, right?
That's insane. That's
Yeah,
mad. 20 minus 26.
yeah, wind chill. So I think it's supposed to be 19 here, but I guess it's going to be a north wind for us. For you guys, it's probably the south wind that
Yeah,
gets cold for
yeah,
you, right?
that is,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mike, what I wanted to talk with you about this today is about resolve and resolve of police officers. And in particular, I've been following what's been happening in Minnesota. There's been the ICE agents have shot and killed that Renee Good, and then there was another man. I can't Pretty, I think his name was.
Yeah.
And then this morning I got up and I heard about the FBI has arrested Don Lemon, and of course that has caused quite a bit of consternation amongst some of your American folk. And now, what I found that when I was in the coppers is that when police went in and made an arrest and essentially fixing a problem, which is what policing is all about, fixing problems, is that some people take great exception to the problem being fixed. And I wanted to say that that's in a very general sense what it's like being in the coppers. People will take great exception to what I used to do sometimes. You're arresting the wrong person, or and but you're just bringing about a solution to the problem. Now, as horrible as it is that someone might die, and no one said this, but I bet it was implied that Renee Good was shot dead. There was some thought floating in the air. She's a reasonably good-looking young female, and she shouldn't have been shot. Well, the fact of the matter is that if you get in the way and you do certain things, that's what's going to happen. Now, it sounds tough, but I think that that's just the way that if you want to, I really don't like that expression that I've heard about F around and find out.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's what happens. And I think it happened with Pretty, and I think with, to a certain extent, with Don Lemon. Um, and
Yeah.
I think that for a long time, I know I'm going on a bit, and I'll stop in a minute and get your
Yeah.
view,
Go ahead. Yeah.
but for a long time in your country, you had that, and I'll be frank, that imbecile, that I think was an imbecile, your president before, who didn't know which way was up. And
Hmm.
they got used to this state of confusion. And just yesterday, I was talking to one of my friends here on the island, nothing to do with this. We're talking about the danger of chaos. You don't want chaos, you want order. And
Yeah.
sometimes order is brutal, but you need order in order to live. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You have to have a rule of law, or there will be chaos and it'll be anarchy, you know.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um, so, what is there a specific question that you have in mind about that, or is a specific statement, or um, where do you want to go with this conversation, I guess?
I just wanted to. I guess to in some ways to air my thoughts about it because I don't get out very much, and and I
No one to
noticed
talk
that
to.
yeah, you and I are probably the same. Uh,
Yeah.
Tend to live in some ways an isolated life, even
Hmm.
and then so one of the I won't mention any names, but there's someone that I know uh, who about 20 about it in probably about 2019 was said to me that they would welcome anarchy, right? And I said to this person, I'm going to try hard not to identify them by their maleness or femaleness. But I said, you would not want anarchy. That is just a dumb thing to say. And
Yeah.
when 2020 rolled around and COVID hit, now I'm not going to say if you wanted to go and get the COVID vaccine, knock yourself out. Do whatever you want to do, but don't involve me.
That's right.
Anyway, and then this person, soon as 2020 hit and COVID rolled around, couldn't roll out their sleeves quick enough, to get
Hmm.
it. Now, if you wanted to get it and you generally wanted, I would protect your freedom to do that.
Right.
But that was in my mind, just my simple mind thought, no, I'm not going to do that, and I've never done it,
Yeah, me either.
and I've never been healthier, and
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And so, but people, there's this almost this romantic illusion that people have about anarchy. You bloody well don't want anarchy. You and I have been in anarchy. We've been in
Yeah.
the face of anarchy, faced it face to face. And then that bloke that I was going to shoot, that one that I did a story about, that was there was no BS involved in that. When he
Hmm.
said shoot me in the legs, I said you will not be shot in the legs. You will be shot in the chest.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to have resolve. Mm,
Yeah. Great, great, great comment, Peter. So let's get back to Minnesota. You
mm,
know, it seems to be what the news is. So you have the left, the predominantly we call it the legacy media. They predominantly are owned by liberal leaning organizations, right? And that's kind of what they want to portray is a liberalness, woke, you call me by they, them, z, what, all that kind of mess. And they want to push that on the rest of us. You mentioned the vaccine. That media that they scared so many people
mm,
into getting that shot. My
mm,
my daughter, both my daughters took the shot, you know, and it devastated me because we don't know what that vaccine in the long run, and let me preface that by saying they used to have a vaccine, not a vaccine, but they used to have a an injection that was for weight loss. I can't remember what the phenamine or something like that.
mm,
And so a bunch of people jumped on that bandwagon, man. They took this, either by pill or by injection. They took this, and then 10 years down the road, then all of a sudden the FDA says everybody that took that now has to go to get their heart checked because this is
mm,
now it's known to show that it ruined people's hearts or their membranes. I can't remember exactly what it is, but that's what they rushed this vaccine so fast and
mm,
they scared everybody that you're going to
mm,
die.
mm.
You know, I didn't fall for it, but I will tell you there was times that they made it sound like the sky was falling,
That's right.
didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah,
I mean, you couldn't get on an airplane unless you could prove to them that you had a card. That's
mm,
what Nazi Germany did.
yeah,
They
yeah,
issued a
yeah,
card so you could travel.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm just not getting on an airplane
mm,
because I'm not
yeah,
taking your stinking vaccine.
yeah, yeah.
And
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, my wife didn't do it either, but my daughters, who are a different generation,
Mm,
they watch TikTok, they watch these influencers,
mm,
and they thought we were crazy,
mm, mm,
and so now I've got this underlying dread that
mm,
in 10 years we're going to
yeah,
find out that, well, we already know that a lot of people are having issues now that took
mm,
the
mm,
vaccine, that
mm.
they're connecting those dots that the
Yeah,
vaccine is
yeah,
causing these health
yeah.
problems.
when there was a couple of places of business. Now, you know, I live on a relatively small island. It's a small, isolated island, but it's a
Hmm.
pretty industrious place. There was one place I had to go, and I'm not going to identify it, but there was one place of business that I had to go in to get something for my wife. My wife's the same as me, never been vaccinated, against COVID at least, and they required me to wear a mask to go into their place of business. I refused to do that. In fact, I have a certificate from a doctor that I don't have to wear it. Right. I went in there and I told the lady at the counter, which must have been about 20 metres away, say 20 yards away, fair way, I'm calling out. And I said, no, I'm not going to wear a mask. And I said, I want this. I pointed to this, what it was on the shelf. I want that. And they had to bring it over to me, and I used my card to swipe their EFT and get it. And another time I had to go to, I'll say it, I had to go to the local hospital just for a routine blood test. Now, the lady there told me that I couldn't go in there without wearing a mask. And I told her about the certificate. Didn't she said that doesn't mean anything anymore. Anyway, I just turned on the heels and walked out. Then she called out, "Oh, Peter, Peter," and they let
Yeah.
me in. Yeah,
Yeah. A
it's
mask.
ridiculous.
It's like wearing
A
a pair of
mask.
underwear on your face,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
It, I saw a slow motion picture where somebody was wearing a mask and they sneezed on the inside of that mask. And, it was slow motion picture,
Ah,
a video. And you
ah,
could see that, you know, the,
yeah,
the, the sneeze,
yeah, yeah.
it was just a way of controlling the people. Now,
Mm,
don't get me wrong, people that had underlying health issues,
mm,
you know, I had an immune system. I was
mm,
healthy. You weren't going to make me any healthier,
mm,
you
mm,
know?
mm,
And I got COVID twice,
mm,
and didn't even know I had it the first time.
mm,
And the second time, because I had it the first time and found out, then but I still didn't take the vaccine.
mm.
I will never, you're not going to lead me to the slaughter.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
if
yeah,
God decides to give me an illness that's going to take my life, then
uh,
that's what's going to happen,
yeah, yeah.
you
And
know?
let's face it, last time I checked, the mortality rate was 100%.
It's right. It was crazy. But
Yeah,
people, they hated you if
yeah,
you didn't take the
yeah,
vaccine.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
spreading, you're trying to
yeah.
kill everybody. I mean, it was just, so yeah, we just kind of sequestered ourselves from population. We didn't offer that we didn't have the vaccine, I mean, but just like I
Mm,
don't offer who I vote for, you
mm,
know,
mm, mm.
because
But
somebody's always going to disagree.
but then like it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Minnesota with regard to these arrests. I understand that it was really good. You explained last week how judges and issue arrest warrants, and we were discussing how it's different in Australia, where it's actually the police that make that decision
Yeah.
about whether they're going to go and arrest somebody based on exploring the facts. But I
Hey,
understand
can I
that.
can I can
Yeah,
I mention something about that?
yeah.
So, what I didn't mention about the judges, see, our judges are elected. They're elected by the people.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Mm,
takes cops aren't. Cops are
mm,
hired, Uh,
mm,
my position was an elected position after, my last 16 years.
mm,
But prior to that, it was, I was hired, by the state or by the county, either one of those. But when you have to go to a judge that's hired, he's put in there by the people,
mm,
right? So you go to him to get
mm,
authorization to do the warrant. So
mm,
I think I don't know what's better or not, but I think if you think about he's hired by the people,
mm,
you know.
mm.
If he doesn't do the right thing, then the people don't have to hire him and
How long
worry
are they
about it.
hired for, Malik?
I think they have to run every 4 years,
Pretty short.
for their, yeah.
Mm,
And so they have to answer to the people. So
mm,
if they're doing warrants wrong,
mm,
then, you know, theoretically they could lose their job just by not being elected again. So that might be one of the key differences from a
mm,
police doing it like in Australia, because
mm,
you're hired It's
Mm.
like the police investigating the police. If we have a police shooting, civilians don't investigate that. The police department says, "Oh yeah,
Mm.
nothing to see here, folks." you know,
And one of the things that I've gone over many times in my mind is that simply because someone gets hurt doesn't mean something bad happened. Now, I've been in the witness box being cross-examined about some pretty intense stuff. Yeah, where I
yeah,
belted somebody. There's been no ifs, buts, or maybes. I belted this person. It was in my statement, it was in the fact sheet. There was no hiding it because I didn't have to hide it. But the defence counsel took great exception and there was the most thorough cross-examination I had in my career. And but it means just because someone gets hurt or killed doesn't mean something bad, doesn't mean that the person that did the killing or the hurting is in the wrong. And that's
no,
generally
you're
some
right.
sort of thought that floats around in people's minds. And
Yeah,
it
good
just isn't true.
observation.
Hmm.
It- well, so police officers don't here. We don't have a duty to retreat. So if somebody's coming at you with a deadly weapon, which a car, it's
Mm,
could be
mm,
3,000 to 6,000 pounds.
mm,
That's a deadly weapon.
of
You
course.
don't have a duty to retreat. eh,
No.
but a normal thinking man, and that's how it would be handled in the court. The jury's going to look at you as what would I do if I was in that same position.
Mm, mm,
So if you can get out of that way, or are you purposely putting yourself in the line of harm?
mhm,
I would
mhm,
never get in front of a person that's in a vehicle that's refusing to comply with orders from another
mm,
police officer.
mm,
I just wouldn't do it
mm,
because there's something going on. That person
mm,
is, you know what I'm saying? So,
mm. Yeah, I'd be the
and
same. Mm,
yeah, so I'm not going to quarterback, what went on in Minneapolis when they shot that woman who did hit that police officer as she was trying to elude, some
mm,
type of detention.
mm,
But you gotta wonder, you know, I don't know enough about it to kind of make I'm to say that officer probably shouldn't have put himself in the. I mean, she was definitely not cooperating,
mm,
and the
mm,
vehicle's running. She's in the vehicle, you
mm,
know. It's not in park, so if
mm,
another officer grabs her and she hits the accelerator, just by reflex, then
mm,
he's going to get hit, you
mm,
know.
mm,
Um, so I don't know in that instance, but he doesn't have a duty to retreat. So
mm,
if something like that goes in front of the jury's going to have to determine, did he purposely put himself in the line, in danger by doing that? And
mm,
it's easy for us to look at that video and second guess what he should or shouldn't have done,
mm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. The only and just so that I guess I'm going to say this to show that I'm not completely biased in my opinion, like pre and pro police. But the other
yeah,
thing that I was immediately not comfortable with was the fact that when he fired that shot, there was another officer adjacent to the driver, and that's something
yeah,
that I would only do under great duress because
yeah.
glass probably double laminated, a bullet could deflect,
Hmm.
So and so if I always when I used to investigate crime, Mike, I always used to put myself in the position, how would I defend this person that I prosecuted?
That's right.
One of the things I would say is that one of the things would be is that you really put someone else in danger by doing that. But
Yeah,
but it also shows how important it was for him to fire that shot. Mm.
yeah. Yeah. So my personal opinion is we need to do something about immigration. No doubt
Oh,
about it.
of course, yes, horrible. Yeah,
Yeah, it's horrible. It'd be horrible in Australia.
it is.
Y'all don't share a border with,
Mm.
like we do with other countries,
Mm.
but you still have illegal immigration in Australia just the same, you
Oh,
know, right?
of
So
course,
there,
it's you know
yeah,
it's out of control. In big cities, I would say it's out of control.
yeah, exactly. And you wonder how in the hell did you get here?
Yeah, that's a
You
really
know,
good question. How
yeah.
did that happen? mm,
how to begin with, how did it happen? But then you get tasked with arresting these people.
mm,
I think as a police officer, we wouldn't operate like ICE is operating right now, heavy handed, you know, uh, you got to figure out what hill you're going to die on. You
mm,
know,
mm, mm,
is that a hill you want to die on where you've got 1,000 protesters surrounding you and
mm,
you're going to stick it out?
mm, mm,
I mean, I think tactically you should reevaluate how you're doing this. Are you going
mm,
in heavy handed?
mm, mm,
Damn everybody,
mm,
you know, or do you go, do you decide, okay, let's back up, let's go to
mm,
another town, let this
mm,
die down here,
mm,
let's
mm,
go over here and let's do less heavy handed,
mm, mm.
let's not rile up the
Yeah.
natives,
One, one,
you know.
one, one time, Mike, we had to go to a pretty big job where there was two feuding families. This is in a country town, two
Hmm.
feuding families. So it's a lot of passion. Who knows what they were feuding about? Probably beside the point. But we went there, and there was five police. I don't know why there was an odd number because we always worked in pairs. But one of the police, yeah, one of the police that was there, and he's still in the police because I saw him in the news recently. But we went there, and he was a fairly junior policeman at the time. I went up to him, and there was five of us, and there was about 50 of them. And as soon as if we had made any arrests, they would have combined their forces and moved against us. No
Yeah.
doubt in the world that's what was going to happen. I had to go to this policeman, his junior policeman, who was a bit of a firebrand, and I had to quiet. I tapped him on the shoulder, I said to him, I was certainly senior to him, I said, mate, no arrests. Now, legally speaking, I couldn't do that because of the old decision, Miller versus Knox, 1838. I had no jurisdiction over him. But it was
Mhm.
certainly my advice to him, no arrests. Because if he did that, we were going to get pummeled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Good
that's the
point.
hill. I'm not going to die on this hill.
Right. It's a
You
good
know?
point. It's a
Yeah.
good point.
Mm,
So we go in armed just like you guys do,
mm,
right? So if we put those people, that 50 people that you're talking about, and they go to attack you guys because of a stupid tactical disaster that of your own making,
mm,
more than likely those people are going to, a bunch of them are going to lose their life
mm,
when they didn't have to. You
mm.
know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
like you said, let's back out of here. We'll
Yeah.
wait till that guy drives out of this neighborhood
Uh,
and
uh,
we'll handle business then,
yeah. I used to love nothing better when I had someone to arrest. Might have been, say, an assault of some sort. It happened numerous times. And in this particular town, we would start at 6 a.m. and you'd always have in the back of your notebook a number of people that you had to go and arrest. I'd
Mhm.
love going to bed at 10 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning when they're full of jungle juice and and aggression. I'd love nothing more than banging on their front door at 6:05 in the morning when they're all staved in from the cold and they're still asleep and grabbing us all very bang in the truck, mate. That was
Yeah,
great. That was just very tactical. Yeah,
very tactical. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know why ICE is doing it the way they are doing it. They don't call them, they don't, hey, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
But who knows? They might watch us.
Yeah. And the other thing is I'm only seeing what's being reported on. I'm not seeing the whole picture.
Yeah, of
It's a
course. Yeah.
two-dimensional deal. As a police officer, we've talked about this before. Just because you can doesn't mean you
Yeah.
should,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're heavy-handed and you're like, damn it, we have the authority to do this and we're going to do this no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's going to put other people, because it comes down to you're there to protect and serve.
Mm,
Even if they're assholes, even even if
mm,
they're protesting and all that, dude, there's another day. There's another
mm.
day.
Yeah.
You're supposed to protect
Yeah.
them just like you're supposed to protect the person
Mm,
you're arresting,
mm, mm,
right?
mm,
And if you know what you're doing is agitating this group of people,
mm, mm.
and and you could get into a situation where you're going to have to pull your weapon and
mm,
shoot
mm,
somebody,
mm,
back
mm,
out of it. Get them
mm,
another day.
mm,
You
mm.
know, if
Yeah.
they're murderers and you know that for a fact, then maybe, yeah, tactically you would want to handle up on that. But
One of the things I've done to numerous, I've only ever done this to men, but I say to a man, we might be having a discussion somewhere around this, and I say, put up your hand, like you're saying stop, right? Put up your hand like that. So they put up the hand. I then go like this, and I push against them. Every time the person pushes back, I
yeah,
said, you see what just happened? They go, what? All I said was put up your hand. I pushed you and you pushed back. I said, that's human nature.
yeah, sure it is.
If
Sure
you
it is.
and in fact, if you don't push back, there's probably something wrong with you. You know, you're
Well,
passive.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so that's I think that tells a great story about you. The best arrest is always a really swift one. You know, is you go in when they're not expecting you, and it's all peaceful. But sometimes you just get caught in those situations, and you still
Yeah,
have resolve if you do it at 6:05 in the morning as opposed to 4 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
But you get the job done. Uh,
yeah. I would tell you the protesters that are protesting in Minneapolis are not going to be out there at 4:30 in the morning. It's cold.
yeah,
They're
cold
asleep.
enough in Texas.
Yeah, yeah, right now. Yeah, for sure. Uh,
Uh,
I mean, again, I'm just this is all a broad kind of I'm speaking in broad terms because I don't know everything that's
yeah.
going on
Yeah.
up there.
Mm.
I just think that they have a job to do,
Mm.
but they also have a duty to protect even the protesters
Yeah,
from
right.
themselves,
Yeah.
you
Mm.
know. So don't agitate them, get them to where they're going to come out because as a police officer, if they start pushing on you,
Mm.
you can't allow that to happen because they can take your weapon,
Mm.
and
Mm.
there's all these scenarios
Mm.
go on.
Mm.
But if you put yourself in that position or put them in that position because you're a dumbass,
Mm.
then you're gonna have to live with the consequences if it goes south. Maybe that's how I should
When
lay that down.
you might have heard something about what happened in Australia, particularly the city of Melbourne, which is the second biggest city in Australia, capital city, just north of us. It's only about 100 k's away from where I'm sitting now.
Yeah,
And anyway, up in Melbourne during COVID, I was very reliably told about busloads of police, general duties police, going to where there was going to be an anti-vaccine rally or something like that, and they were being rah-rahed, pumped up by senior officers about we're going to go in there, we're going to kick butt, and there was the most atrocious behaviour in
yeah.
particular by Victorian police against their own citizens. At one stage, they opened fire with rubber bullets on their own citizens. And that was hardly mentioned in what you call the legacy media.
Yeah.
That was an atrocious thing to do. There was video footage of people being knocked to the ground and then pepper sprayed while they're on the ground. I don't know why. If those police had any intestinal fortitude, they would have arrested that officer that was doing that because that's an assault.
Yeah.
I'll be stuffed if I know why that never happened or why it didn't happen afterwards, why they weren't arrested for doing that.
Things like that is why police officers are in danger. I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah, who'd want
and
to
I've
do
said
it?
this before, the only things that keep us safe is if people knowing that we're doing the righteous thing and we're
Yeah.
doing our
Mm.
job.
Yeah.
When we put personalities involved in it,
Yeah.
then we become dirt bags,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that travels over to all of us,
Mm.
you know.
And for not very
So
much money, I don't know about American police, but Australian police. Now, before I say this, I'll back it up by saying you cannot pay police enough money to do what they do. That's why it's a sworn position. So put
yeah,
that aside. But police, comparatively speaking, are fairly poorly paid. Like the most amount of money I've been a labourer type, not in executive. I have no trade, nothing like that, all my life, right? And the
hmm,
most amount of money I ever earned in a whole year was $84,000, righto?
yeah,
One of the places I was stationed at, one of my one-man stations, I was down one of the local clubs one night, and a bloke that I become friends with, he worked at a local mill a big flour mill, like a big place, driving a diesel locomotive. There was a private shunting operation within the mill, right? This bloke effectively, I'm not downplaying what he did, but he effectively drove a diesel locomotive up and down a track, hook onto that, pull it up here, all not on the main line. He earned $5,000 a year more than what I did, you know?
Yeah.
And I had to walk around at night on my own at night with a pistol on my belt, arresting violent offenders, dealing with God knows who, and he earned $5,000 more than what I did. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Lot less dangerous, you know.
bloody oath, it was very boring. What he did was boring and predictable, but $5,000 a year more.
Yeah. Well, you've heard it just like I've heard it. The only reason why we were police officers because we weren't smart enough to do anything else, And they might have something. They might have something there.
Yeah, no, some of the smartest people I know are police
Ah,
officers.
yeah.
Incredibly smart. Yeah, like
You know,
really, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would put my IQ is about average, but some of the people I know are really smart people. Mm.
well, I would say that you're probably more than average. You're way up there because you have to know at in a split. And I played that thing for you about what a policeman is. You have
Yeah.
to be
Mm,
a father. You have to be a police officer. You have to be a priest. You have to,
mm,
uh,
mm,
all that as a police officer, and you got to be able to make a split decision whether what
mm,
happened is a
mm,
criminal offense or not.
mm,
And if it's not a criminal offense and you arrest the person, then you got to deal with violating, a
mm,
right
mm,
for their right to be free.
mm, mm,
Here, that's a serious thing.
mm.
Uh,
But I know the
so
areas
you
in
have
which
to
I'm
know all
very
those
dumb.
laws. What's that?
I'm also very aware of the areas where I'm just adult, DOLT. Like I'm one of the most silly. I'm one of the dumbest people I know in some areas. I
Yeah.
just know that.
Well,
But
I
so you
I don't
average
see
it
that
out.
at all.
No, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, we have our penal code. That book is that thick, and we have
yeah,
to know it
yeah,
in a split second whether that somebody has violated one of those laws in there.
yeah.
And we have to
I,
know what
yeah,
it, it's just
uh,
crazy. But obviously somebody that does software, maybe coding software, that's
mm,
all you could write that on a cliff and I'd have no clue. I would think Egyptians did that 6 million years ago, you know.
yeah,
But there are
uh,
guys that can think that, you know,
uh, yeah.
but they can't be police officers,
It would
you know.
before you've made the point that you made the point a few podcasts ago about the police are just ordinary people. Then one of the people in the comments said, "No, Mike, I don't think police are ordinary," and I agree with the commenter. But one of the things that was interesting for me, Mike, when I joined the coppers, I wasn't very coordinated. Might come from the fact that I'm tall and lean, I wasn't very coordinated. But you know what happened? Almost instantly, if someone threw something at me, man, I was like a lizard catching a fly. Bang, I could just grab it. No one was getting anywhere near me. I'd become it's a very interesting and a good subject to talk about, or that I think about is how police change when they become police. Their worldview changes, their ability to assess things changes, and I think it's because when boys are boys and girls are girls, that we grew up being socialised into thinking, being very logical. If you want to get from A to over there, you go from A to B. Whereas women, they would tend to go around in a circle. And that's what you need to do as police. You need to become lateral in your thinking. What are the possibilities here? But as you said just a second ago, got to do it instantly
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing about me. You actually rediscover part of your brain that we got switched off when we were kids, the way we were socialized, suddenly becomes alive again. There's a
Yeah.
switch goes on. It was there all the time.
Yeah. You're right. I think prior to police, I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't know anything about police. So my brain operated differently.
Mm,
When I became a police officer, now it was life and death, just literally everything that we did. I mean, we could be, just like, what I'm talking about. You could just be going to a simple call like I went to a call. They said this guy was at one of these bridges. It was a simple call and they were afraid he was going to get hit by a car.
mm,
So I that was a call that was given. So it was just okay, I mean, here's an adult walking on the side of the road, but let's call the
Mm,
police, and we're not able to refuse a call.
mm,
So I rolled out there and I made contact with him, and they were right. He was right there by that bridge, and
mm,
somebody could have hit him, but he was
mm,
still an adult. He's not 12 years old.
mm,
So
mm,
I get out of the car and I'm talking to this guy. He's in front of my car, and he's not being very communicative to back to me. And I'm thinking, okay, so what am I dealing with here? You know
mm,
how it is.
mm,
I wouldn't have thought that just being a civilian.
mm,
I would just think,
mm,
oh, okay, I don't want to invade his space. But you and
mm.
I didn't have that luxury.
No,
We have to get to the bottom of it.
yeah, yeah.
This guy was huffing paint, and I might have told the story already.
I don't think so.
What I forgot to tell you, he had gold around his mouth, and I didn't.
I
It
can't
didn't
follow
dawn on
that.
me. Yeah, I was just thinking, okay, he's homeless, and you know, gold around his mouth. But he was apparently the gold paint is more potent, and he
Ah,
was underneath that bridge. He was homeless, but he was underneath that bridge, huffing that paint, and he was high as a kite.
ah,
And he got to wrestling me. I had him come around behind the back of the car. I'm still not aware of what's going on, but you and I are always on point as police officers,
ah,
especially guys like me who are single car operators,
ah,
you know?
ah.
So,
Altogether
I mean,
different. Ah,
yeah, if I'm outside that car, I've got a handheld radio on me. But if I'm having to wrestle this guy, which is what happened, he attacked me, he, he, he didn't know what he was doing, but I didn't know that, but he was trying to push me out into the traffic.
wow.
So, yeah.
Ah,
So I think that makes us weary every time we make contact with
mm,
somebody. Everybody says you're prejudiced. As a cop, everybody's a bad guy. You know,
mhm.
that's our survival instinct as a
Yeah,
human, as a police officer.
yeah.
We're not going on calls with people that, have their wedding ring has fallen down the drain.
Mm,
We're going on
mm,
calls of bad
mm,
guys, you
mm,
know.
mm.
So your brain gets rewired to fight or flight. There's
Mm.
no flight. We're not allowed to fly,
Yeah, weather 9/11.
right? Yeah. Who's 911? We're 911. So no one's coming to our rescue fast enough so you got to handle up on it. So I think I'm
Right.
making that analogy so that every time we see somebody as police officers, we see them different as normal people would see them,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm, mm. Like
because
you
of
said,
our experience.
like you said before, people say to you, "Oh, this is a nice area." Maybe not.
That's right. Yeah.
One
Yeah,
one
it's a nice
time,
area to you.
one time, Mike, I was out having lunch with this elderly lady. It was in a restaurant. It was in a not a restaurant. It was in a cafe in a big shopping complex, righto. And she put her handbag next to where we were sitting. There was a wall that was about 1.5 yards high, right? And she put a handbag on that. And of course, I'm constantly scanning. And there was a lady that walked past maybe twice who was a junkie. And I'm thinking, I said to this lady after a while, get your handbag and put it down on the table or somewhere where you can, because she's going to grab it. And I'm pretty sure that's what she was going to do. People just they don't think. They think
Yeah.
everyone's, cutie pie and the world's beautiful. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Get your
Yeah.
bag off there because you're about to get robbed.
Yeah. No, I,
People just
I
don't
totally
think.
agree.
One
Yeah.
time, I got to tell you funny. You were talking about the bridge. I got to tell you a funny story. One time, we got called to a job, and it was a regular job for us. People would see there was an alcoholic, and he didn't live under the bridge. I knew where he lived, but he used to spend the day under the bridge, drinking wine. And people would
Yeah.
see him, they're being nice, being good citizens, and they would ring the cops. We would go down there, and he was a good-natured sort of a fellow. I knew him so well, I knew where he kept his key. He kept his key in the banana tree out the front of his house. Anyway, so it was getting towards the end of our shift. It was a day shift, and we were going to finish at 6 p.m. Now I knew he liked to have a chat. Yeah, we put him in the back seat, we drive him home. Anyway, and when we got to his house, I'm driving, I'm thinking he's going to want to have about a 10-minute chat before he gets out of the truck, and goes into his house. And so
Yeah.
I said to him, because he was still pretty intoxicated, and I let's say his name was Bill. I said, Bill, when we pulled up at the front of his house, I said, Bill, said, I just saw a woman in your house. She pulled the curtains aside. She was in there. She was completely naked. She had these big boobs, and she's going, Bill, Bill, where are you? He got out of the car pretty quick. But
Yeah,
just using a
yeah,
bit of, yeah, I just didn't want the 10-minute talk at the end of our shift. It got him out of the
yeah.
truck.
You know, it, yeah. Sometimes we have to, just like I said about the priest and the father and the mother, and we have to be all things to the
Mm.
doctor. We we have to be able to stop the we have to be able to catch the bad guy in 5 minutes. That's
Uh,
what people expect of us. And you
mm,
got to be a doctor. You got to stop the bleeding and start the
mm,
breathing.
mm,
You know, e-
mm,
everything. Literally, we have so much that we have to do, and
mm,
rightfully so. I mean, we're the cops,
mm,
but sometimes we have to be psychologists. Sometimes they just,
mm.
they're acting up and they just want to talk to you, and you talk them
Yeah.
off the ledge, and
Mm,
uh,
mm.
and maybe you don't have to deal with that guy for 2 or 3 days until he's off his meds again, and you got to do the same
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
and you've seen some people that that are on medication, and when they're off medication, and
Mm,
you're like, when was the last time you took your meds? Well,
mm,
I ain't been on them in
mm,
a week. I've been doing good. Well, no, you're not. You don't have any clothes on. I
mm.
don't, that type of thing, you know. So
And you're particularly ugly.
yeah, you're not helping. You're not helping. I mean, we've got literally 200 calls of you out here on the highway with no clothes on. Well, I didn't know that. So,
Uh,
but I mean, do you take them to jail? No,
uh, take him to the clothes shop.
you take them out to the lake and drop them off and let them get. No, so you have to talk to them, so you have to spend time with them and talk them off that ledge.
Mm,
It's no different than putting somebody in jail. Now you have to be a psychologist, and
mm, mm,
you have to figure out what's going to work for each particular person,
mm, mm,
you
mm.
know?
I
And
remember
I don't
dealing
think
with
people
a
realize that.
I remember dealing with a bloke who he was actually in the police station. He was in the foyer of his police station, and he appeared to be intoxicated, like heavily intoxicated. He was
Hmm.
argumentative. He was probably about 50 years old. And I knew because someone I knew was diabetic, and I knew what happened when you
That's
get,
right.
I think when your blood sugar goes up, there's
No,
a
when it
smell on
goes
the
down.
breath, and they
Yeah,
act
acetone.
intoxicated. Acetone, yeah, I remember
Yeah,
you mentioning it once before. And
yeah,
they become belligerent. The person I'm talking about was a
yeah.
mild-mannered person, and there'd been an argument. And I knew, I thought this bloke. I went around to the public side of the counter, and I'm talking to him, and I said to some of the other police there, said, "We need an ambulance.
Yeah,
This
that's
bloke
right.
doesn't
Good
need to
for
be locked
you.
up.
Yep.
He's not drunk. He's sick."
Yeah. And that all, yeah, ex that's those people will present like they're highly intoxicated.
Mm, mm,
And if you arrest them and put them in the cell and they're having a diabetic episode, you're
yeah,
going to kill them. You know,
yeah,
it's not going to be intentional,
mm,
you know,
yeah.
but their family doesn't care.
No,
They have loved ones too.
mm,
So, you got, I mean, it's a stressful job. Don't get me wrong,
mm.
because you got to get it right all the time. You got to be right all the time.
Yeah, yeah. There's another time something similar to that, Mike. There was a bloke, we had a job where there was a car driving recklessly on a highway, like on a, about,
Yeah.
if you put it in your terms, about 60-mile-an-hour highway. Anyway, and so we actually found the car and the driver inside the city, inside this town. And when we stopped him, and the same thing was happening with him. He was having a hypo, a diabetic hypo.
Yep.
And, and would have been, I mean, he of course would have passed a roadside breath test, but,
I'm
we
sure
didn't
you
take
would.
any action against him because he was having a medical episode. I don't remember now, but I expect I probably did something because we could do a report and make that person go and see a doctor to get a fitness certificate to continue to drive. I guess I probably did that. Um, we just got the 5-minute message from the
Okay.
producer.
Hey, Peter, let me bring up this
Yeah,
one
yeah,
question from Beresford
yeah,
Thompson.
yeah.
He's continuing. he watches our show and continues to ask questions.
Mm.
One of the things we hit the first part of that last week. One of the ones he wanted to talk about also was it. I guess for lack of a better word, because we have discretion, are we ever uh, chastised? Let me see how you put that. As far as other questions I had with discretion, like I've heard so many times about not having written a ticket at all in your final years of patrolling, which I didn't for the last 5 years. Would that sort of body cam be reviewed and your discretion questioned as far as not arresting or giving a ticket? And for Pete as well, even though he didn't have a body cam, but did his discretion get questioned? So let's go
No.
with you first.
No.
Same here. Yeah. And we did have body cams, but
Mm.
never once was I questioned on the decision that I made in the field. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
why
Um,
didn't you arrest that guy? And never questioned.
mm. To the lady that asked the question about prostitution, I'm sorry we haven't got to it yet, but it's on the list, and we'll get to talking about prostitution. And,
Can't
but
wait.
Would I be able to just finish with a funny story? It's
Sure.
actually a true story. Now, don't anyone in the comments get upset with me about the subject of it, because it's about a trial about a certain sort of assault that normally happens in a bedroom. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Four-letter
Yeah.
word
That's a good
starting
way
with
of putting
R.
it.
Okay, in this trial, it's a true story. The victim was in the witness box being cross-examined. And the question is put to her by the defense counsel because they're trying to establish that the act was by consent. And so the question she's asked the question, what did my client say to you before this alleged incident? And she said, well, he used a rude word, and I'm not going to say that rude word because I've sworn an oath on the Bible. There's judges here, there's nice people here. I'm not going to say that word. Well, you have to say that word. No, I'm not going to say it. He said, I'll write it down, but I won't say it. So the judge thinks about it, says, okay, I'll let you write the answer down. So she's given a blank piece of paper and a pen. And so she's got that in front of her in the witness box, and the question is formally put to her again. What did my client say to you before this alleged incident? So she writes the answer down on this blank piece of paper. And the judge reads it, the defense counsel reads it, the prosecutor reads it, and then it gets handed around to the jury box. Now, the answer that she wrote on this piece of paper was, I want to F you, right? I want to fuck you, right? And that's written on this
I
piece of
got it.
paper. It's been handed around the jury box, jury member to jury member to jury member. All that was going very, very well, but someone forgot to factor in that sometimes trials, even though they're sort of exciting, can be very boring. They hear the
Hmm.
same thing from 1,000 different angles. And this
Yeah.
particular story happened after lunch. There's a man probably about the age I am now. He's fallen asleep. He doesn't know
Mm.
what's going on. The girl next to him, this good-looking girl next to him, realizes he's fallen asleep and nudges him awake and passes him the note. He reads the note and
Oh,
he's going, oh, wacko. Must have been my snoring. And he folds it up and puts it in his pocket.
oh my
And the, and
Lord.
the, the judge said, I'll have that note, thank you. He goes, no, Your Honor, it's private.
Yeah. Yeah, man. There's a lot of funny stories of God, man. That is a good one though. That is a real good one. Yep.
Uh, well, thanks so much for your time, and if you have questions that you want to ask us, do so, and make sure you share the video, like it, and share it, and send it far and wide, and we'll continue to build the channel. Uh,
Peter,
uh,
till next week. I know we're going to have some format issues that we're going to discuss with
mm,
Wade.
mm,
So
mm.
people stay tuned. There's going to be some changes coming for
Yeah,
the good. So, uh,
yeah, cool.
but
All right.
I do want from this Texas cop, retired cop. I want to say thanks to everybody who does come and watch these two old
Mm.
cops banner around here.
Yeah, it's
It's
great,
pretty
isn't it?
cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Right,
All right, bro.
Peru.
See you, man.
See you, man.